Hello. I hope everything is going well. I slept okay, but I still haven't gotten what I consider good sleep in a while. Anytime I dream, it's not good. It's restless. I don't feel rested, but it's been that way for a long time. So today I wanted to decide whether I was going to talk about my dad or about Brandy, and both are extremely painful. Brandy more so. Um, I know this is hard to understand, but I do really love her, and even though I know it's not likely that I will ever get my happy ending, that I will never achieve all of my goals, the hope that I could working towards those goals, I think makes me a better person and encourages me to help Brandy be a better person. And in doing that, we become better parents for you. So it's really hard because I know as soon as I say these things, that hope is gone for me. And hope has been a critical part of my life and development. So, Brandy never forgives. It's the other important lesson. Never. I don't think I've seen her forgive once. If she does, she never says, never even hints. At best, you just never hear about it again, and you're always left wondering. Sure as hell will bring it up again sometimes. So we're gonna talk about my dad and early childhood abuse. Oof. So, like I had mentioned before, um, you could see progression with him and his children. With each child, he was less abusive. Um, but I was the first. I was a boy, so maybe that makes it easier. I don't know. And that is not to say he wasn't abusive toward my sister. She'll have to tell you that tale because I was angry and blinded and preoccupied at the time with this giant of a man towering over me, yelling and hitting me. Or pushing me. I was always in trouble, always being yelled at with something. Whether I should have been, I don't know. Well, look, nowadays we look back and that we think they're barbaric. Hitting their kids to teach them a lesson. Barbaric. I want you to know, this was going to be real hard for you to believe, but it's true as well. They were allowed to spank us at school. Teachers, principals, allowed to spank the kids. Had a paddle. Got that one a lot. Crazy, huh? When did that stop? Oh. So, I'm going to start with the most profound one. This is the one that I remember vividly and will serve as a good example. I was a boy, I don't know how old, young, before my teenage years. I was stripped naked. He picked me up by my feet, hung me upside down, and he beat my ass and counted every time he hit me. My original punishment? I don't know how many I was supposed to get. But in defiance, I started counting each time he did it, and he kept going. Because he was mad. Couldn't control his anger. I used to know how many times I counted. Now I don't remember. It was a lot. Probably till his arm got tired of hanging me upside down. Now I was a skinny little kid back then. He was a big grown man. Now everybody knew what was going on. My uncle. Now he tried once. I remember. Remember he lived up in Dallas, Fort Worth area. Remember he had come down and was visiting, and Harold had done something, and I got mad, and I had looked to Uncle Rodney to help do something, intervene. I talked to him outside where the vehicles were lined up. I remember he went back in and talked to Dad or something, but so people knew. CPS was called once. I remember I was in elementary school in Markham. That would be 4th or 5th grade-ish, somewhere in there. My mom had called them because of what I had been telling her would been happening. They gave me some test, bunch of tests, I don't know. One of them I remember was rearranging pieces of a horse, and it wasn't a very complicated puzzle, but I got it wrong because there was a neck piece. Why they were doing some type of IQ puzzle test on me, I don't know. Remember going to the principal's office at school. Now, hey, in case you don't remember, small town, everybody knows everybody. Nothing ever came of it. They took pictures of my bruises, asked me what happened, and I was dumb enough to tell them right there in front of the principal. Guess who found out everything? That is correct. So this is the world that I lived in. Constant fear, anger. Home was not safe. School, now not safe. I was deep fucked. Became angry all the time. Every injury to me, emotional or physical or perceived, was met with anger. Now, let's make a comparison to what you know. Let's talk about Noah. Noah was probably much worse before you were born. We'll talk about that in detail later. I rarely responded with violence except in certain situations. I had public sense. I'm not gonna go hitting nobody at school. But I did take it out on my sister. played pranks, was abusive to her, didn't treat her right, didn't treat her fairly, picked on her because I was picked on. Sometimes she wasn't picked on by dad. That'd make me mad too. No good. I didn't have many fights. One I did have, deeply shameful for me. If you went out the trailer and you went left on the road, it curved around back. And around that first curve, if you went straight, went to like some sort of wastewater treatment place or whatever. There's a few houses before that area. I remember right there in front of one of them, we had a friend in the first one who played golf. I think he was younger than me and my sister. But next to him, or down a little bit or something, called him Booger Nose. The little black kid. He always had booger coming out of his nose. I remember I punched him for no reason other than him being different and booger coming out of his nose all the time. But when I did, I didn't like it. I knew it was wrong. I kind of started the ideas in my head of what I wanted to change. And I was still too young. Nobody ever, that I remember, ever sat me down, ever tried to set some example about here is what you should be doing. They'll try to beat it into you. They'll try to hit it into you, spank it into you. Mental health, even when I was a young adult, was not something ever talked about. It was not at the forefront of our society, what we pass on, what we teach. Self-correcting behavior, not a thing. It was just becoming unacceptable to harass women in public, to smoke around other people. That was a battle that happened when I was an adult. I still sat in smoking sections or a restaurant that had smoking sections. They smoked in airplanes. Can you believe that? Smoked in the car with their windows up. Nobody thought anything of it. Well, that's not true. Nobody I knew thought anything of it. These were my role models, or were supposed to be. Not a one. You gotta look deep for redeemable qualities for any adults around me when I was growing up. We haven't talked about the big ones that were positive. We will. I was messed up as a kid. Didn't understand love. My dad tell me he loved me all the time. They all say they love me. I didn't want none of their love. It was horrifying to me. How are you gonna hit your kid and then tell him you love him? I'll give you my dad's secret sauce. Religion. You think being hit, being angry was infuriating? Sit next to that man on church. When he hits you one day, the next goes to church. Gets forgiveness for all these things. Blanket forgiveness. God forgive me for my sins. I gotta sit next to that shit and listen to it. Tell you a story about when I was older. This was when I was much older. After you were born, even. We'll talk about when you were born, because that's a good topic later. But I'll tell you this one story. We're in Austin, and I am a forgiving person. You know, I didn't want the sins that my dad had for you to know those personally. I wanted to tell you the story. I wanted you to be aware of my experience, but I want you to know him as you have experienced him in life. He would be your grandpa, um, not my dad. That's what I wanted. So when you were a baby, a little kid, I would allow him to see you sometimes. I remember I was with my sister, and she has a kid, Hayden, and so we had invited Harold up to Austin, and we went to a pizza place. So it was me, my sister, you, Hayden, and Harold. I don't remember if anybody else was there. And throughout my life, I would occasionally ask my father, or give him a chance to talk about um, what's on his mind, to process something. Um, just give him a free platform, no expectation. Um, so he was talking about, what he did wrong. He understands it was wrong, that he loves me. Always he loves me, by the way. Um, and we're talking about something about why he did some things. Why was I able to um, learn these self-control techniques, and he wasn't. Um, and we had gotten, I don't remember the exact conversation, but then it came out, and he said something really unsatisfactory. I don't remember what it was. And I said, well, you know what? I don't forgive you for that. And he's like, well, you don't have to. God does. Ooh, arrogance. Arrogance and denial. How arrogant to assume what a God might forgive someone for. How arrogant to assume to know the answers to the universe that nobody else seems to know. I wasn't really happy with that one. So you can see, to use religion as a shield to negate uh, the emotional consequences of his decisions. Didn't matter if I forgave him. Doesn't need to work towards that. It's not a goal. It's a shortcut because God forgives them. All you gotta do is go to church and say, I'm sorry, God. see, that doesn't really work so well. It's not about justice. And to be fair, as the older I get, I don't think even our concept of justice is flawed. I'm not sure justice can even be defined or can exist, and working toward it is almost setting ourselves up for failure. What is it? I, I don't know. The closest thing I can get is what I've tried to adopt. If you do something wrong, to do better the next day. If you can try to make up for it, do it. That's the closest thing I can think of to justice. You're always going to get some vengeful, hateful people who want an eye for an eye you. I don't think it's justice. Are there irredeemable people? Yeah, probably. Are there people that should never see the light of day to public? Yeah. Is it as many as we think? No. Nope. Part of our culture over here in this country. Lock people up. Nowadays called cancel culture. Glad video and tapes didn't exist when we were young. There's a whole lot of people who'd be canceled. Don't ever think any of your grandparents or parents didn't commit wrongs. We all did. And a lot of them we got away with it. We're born into this world not knowing anything. And we got to figure it all out. If we're lucky, we have parents that realize this, that make an attempt to guide you through the obstacles which may have befell them or generations before them. And that's the ultimate do better the next day type of thing. And that was my goal with you. That was my goal when I wanted to change who I was. I didn't understand it before I was 12. And before I was 12, I didn't have the space to make that conscious decision because I was still in that environment with my dad every day. And it wasn't until 12 when I could stand in front of a judge and say, I don't want to live with this person anymore. I want to go live with my mom. Now we got a whole lot of problems, and the grass is, not greener on that side. But it gave me the chance to escape the daily trial. And one of the big lessons that I will try to impart later on is that it's not enough to study something. It's not enough to, in your mind, practice something. You have to be tested. And that's really the story of my early adulthood. Is when you could think of my early childhood, the story I'm telling you. The story that comes next is when I make a conscious decision. I don't want to be like that. I move away from my dad for the first time. And then the next break in the story happens in my early adulthood. When I get out of high school, when I join the Navy, and I'm tested in the real world. And you're gonna see spoilers in my 20s. I don't do so well. I survive. I do better. And then in my 30s, Brandy tests me again. And post Brandy is where you know me. And I think where a lot of things finally came together. That's a long time. It's a long time of working toward who I want to be. That's pretty accurate breakup of my life. There are a lot more darker times coming. This is just the beginning. So, gonna take a break here. I love you a lot, and I'm still waiting for you. I hope to talk to you again soon. Bye.